Thank you. I've got a simple request for each one of you. After you leave this building, I would like you to commit yourself to doing something that is completely and totally impossible. Now just think about it for a second. Ever since man set foot on this planet, we've been doing the impossible. At one time, sitting in a comfortable chair. Hey, impossible. You had to find a stump. How have we been able to, as human beings, do the impossible again and again and again and again? And the answer is you have to see invisible solutions. We are faced with amazing global challenges, super problems. By the way, we have personal ones as well. We have local ones. They could be school challenges and funding challenges. They could be something as much as disease, malaria. I mean, it can be big, it can be little, but the point is, hey, we got problems. Here's something I've learned about problems. Whatever problem you got, that's not it. Hey, you're smart. You would have solved it by now. The insight is your problem's not your problem. Hey, there's another problem. You're working on the wrong one. Let's put that into a personal strategy. And that is, I'd like you to take your problem and skip it. Because it frees you to find the actual real problem. See, it's like an onion. You got to peel it back. To solve impossible problems, you've got to be working on the right ones. I'll give you a couple of quick examples. Eli Lilly, drug manufacturer, a number of years ago. They were faced with a big problem. Now, when anybody comes to you and says, I got a problem, you've got a new thing right now, you immediately know whatever they're about to say isn't it. And of course, their big problem was, well, we have to hire at least 2,000 additional PhD researchers to solve our molecular problems. You see, to solve our molecular problems means that we have more drugs in the pipeline. To have more drugs in the pipeline means that our stock price goes up and our investors are all happy. To do that, of course, we got to go backwards. We got to get more drugs in the pipeline. We got to solve more molecular problems. To do that, we need more scientists. Here's our problem. We don't have the budget to hire 2,000 additional PhD researchers. The answer? Good. Skip it. What do? Well, you take your 2,000, you take all of your molecular problems, you post them in a dozen languages on the internet, and you say, we pay for solutions. They did that quite a few years ago now, and now they have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of researchers all around the world submitting solutions to their molecular problems, and they only purchase the solutions that they want to purchase. Was the problem they didn't have a budget? No, not at all. Got to skip the problem completely, totally. Harley Davidson, not long ago, they said, boy, we'd love to get our Harleys in India. You know, there's a whole new market that's growing out there, and they actually kind of like our Harleys. We'd like to be able to get some exports going from the United States, get them into India. The people in India would really like them. Problem is, oh, there's a huge tariff. Matter of fact, the tariff is the entire cost of the Harley Davidson. It's doubled it, makes it double. People can't afford it. What do? The answer? Skip the tariff. All right, how do you skip a tariff? Why don't we take that Harley Davidson, why don't we break it into just a couple of pre-manufactured parts, ship it there as parts, and let them put those 3 parts together? Guess what? No tariff. Cool. I was talking to, I was sharing this problem-skipping strategy with an audience not long ago, and when I was finished, some people came up to talk to me, and I noticed a woman was off to the side. And after the people talked to me, she came up by herself, and she said, Mr. Burrus, I've got a problem I can't skip. You know, I'd like to. I can't skip it. I said, oh, what is it? Well, she said, I just recently was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Rapid growing. There is no solution. I'm going to die soon. And I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I'm obsessed with dying soon. I don't want to die, but I can't not think about it. It's filling my world. How do I skip that? And I said, well, why don't you skip thinking about dying until you're dead? Why don't you start thinking about living until you die? She wrote me about a month later and said it changed her life. And she was, by the way, she was in Europe, she was vacationing, she was doing the things that she wasn't doing because she was too worried and too obsessed with dying. I don't care what your problem is, skip it. You're working on the wrong one. Look at, back in the late 80s, when I was doing some work in India and a few other developing economies, They had a big problem, infrastructure. Hey, we don't have all the copper for phone systems. We don't have all the infrastructure that you have in the United States. What do we do? And the answer was skip it, go wireless. You don't need infrastructure. I was just in Uganda not long ago. I was on my way to the Bimini impenetrable forest to be up with the mountain gorillas, which was really cool to do. Got to do that someday while they're still there. And when I was there are many places that, they have Maasai warriors. It's like going back in time. It's like time travel. What's really interesting is those Maasais are now doing what? Well, I got cell phones. As a matter of fact, you've heard of the one laptop per child, the $100 laptop. You know what the problem is? It costs $100. You know what I say? Skip it. You know what I think we ought to do? Hey, make sure they got cell phones. Why? Because a cell phone's a computer. First of all, to use a computer, you have to learn how to type. You also have to learn how to read and write. Not everybody can read and write. Yeah, but you can talk and listen. And once you can start communicating, you can start growing economies. You can start connecting. And since the phone is becoming our keys and our bank, it's becoming our television set and our radio. And it's all in one device, and we can make them extremely inexpensive. Wow. Shared that with a telecommunications company, a big one, that is in Africa. And of course, one of their problems was, well, a lot of these places, they don't have electricity. And I said, well, then why don't you stop being a telecommunications company and start being a economic development company? Why don't you go in and put biodiesel and solar generators in those communities so that they can actually pump water out of those wells? By the way, with that, what can they do? Recharge those phones. And then when competition comes in, they might not think of you as a cell phone company, but rather the people that brought water and electricity to our place in a sustainable way. See, it takes a little different way of thinking. Another way to make the invisible visible is to realize that we live in an unbelievably uncertain world. Think about the mass uncertainty we got right now. When is our, or any other country's, economy really coming back? When are foreclosed homes in the United States and other places globally, when is all that going away? We've got mass uncertainty right now. Strategy based on uncertainty has high risk. I have to ask myself, in a world of mass uncertainty, what are we certain about? To see the invisible, you have to see what you're certain about. The answer is I can be certain about a lot, and so can you. For example, let me just do a little show of hands. We've got almost 2,000 people in this room. We've got people from NASA. We've got scientists. We've got educators. We've got a lot of people in this room. Let me just do some surveys. First of all, in the next smartphone, I don't care if it's an Apple iPhone or if it's a BlackBerry or anybody's phone, I don't care. In that next smartphone, how many people think in this room, raise your hand, that no way can they get more memory in that thing? Just forget it. It ain't going to happen. Raise your hand right now. Let me look. All right, nobody put their hand up. By the way, let me ask you a question. Are you certain? Of course you're certain. Okay, we got one. All right, let me ask you another one. How many think that processing power? By the way, right now we can find a lot of storage out in the cloud, can't we? How many in this room would say, well, we're not going to be able to actually use a chip that's in our mobile device and then tap into the processing power out in the cloud so that I could have the power of a supercomputer in my mobile device? No way are they going to be able to pull that one off. How many think? Raise your hand. Come on, raise your hand. Nobody put their hand up. Are you certain? All right, that's two. We got streaming video coming in. How many think, no way is that streaming video going to be high definition? Forget it, can't do it. Raise your hand right now. Raise it. Come on. Nobody's put their hand up. All right, we got three. In an uncertain world, I guess we got a few going here, don't we? All right, what else? By the way, a couple of years ago, I reported in one of my newsletters about a little chip that was already invented. It can beam from a camera or from a phone the image out on a screen, on a wall. By the way, those are already starting to happen. By the way, how many people in this room think, raise your hand, if you think, no way can that image get better every year? Raise your hand right now. Come on, raise your hand. Nobody. Are you certain? Of course you're certain. All right, we got another one. Let me just ask you one more quick question. If we got all that happening on our mobile devices, And we got video conferencing getting better, and we got bandwidth going up. By the way, Cisco's got some new routers they're putting in place right now. And Cisco has said that every man, woman, and child in China could send a high-definition video and not take the system down. So I guess bandwidth isn't going to be a big issue. So let me ask you this. With all that going on, are we going to transform, not change, are we going to transform how we train and educate people with mobility? Absolutely. By the way, is that an if or a maybe? No, it's what I call a future for sure. Just gave you a foresight. You see, the problems with hindsight is you can't change the past. I can't change the past, but I can change the future. I can shape it. And that which I might think is impossible, is it really? Or is it really my perception of what it could be? I think it's all about thinking about what that problem is and reframing it, or what that challenge might be. What if you went back after this and you made a list of all the things you were absolutely certain about? I mean, how many things are there, I wonder? 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, 1,000? What if you made a list of all the things you were absolutely certain about, and anything that you weren't certain about, you got rid of? Might that reveal some hidden opportunities? And the answer is, oh yeah, huge opportunities. You know, I had a friend of mine, and he's a pilot, and he said he's got this real young son, and of course the kid likes video games. So he said I wanted to buy him he was interested in the World War I Flying Ace program. Hey, I'm a pilot. He said, so I got it for the kid, I got it for me, and we decided to play it together. And what you did is you got points by, of course, flying up over and blasting the enemy and bombing and all this stuff, the typical kind of video game. So he said, so my son and I, we both hit the joysticks. I pulled back, he pulled back. He says, the minute I took off, I got hit, I got blasted, I got shot down. And I said, hey, I even flew fighter planes and landed them on aircraft carriers. I can handle this. Pulled back on the stick, took off, boom, 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 got blasted, boom, down he went again. After 3 or 4 times of getting blasted, he looked over at his young son, huge score, he's got no score. and he said, hey. Pulled back on his stick, took off again, got blasted, boom, got down. He said to his young son, hey, stop playing, hold. I got no points, I get blasted every time, you've got big points, what are you doing? And he said, oh, well, I got blasted once. And then I found out that I could just go along and blast everything without taking off. Flaw in the program. By the way, what did the little kid do? Took his biggest problem and skipped it. See, we can do problem skipping without question. We can solve impossible tasks. I mean, let's think about it. Imagine somebody showing off a wheel for the first time. Wow, change the world with this thing. Of course, change was slow. Word spread slow. Even when they invented the first telephone, word spread slow. Hey, who would you call? But today, the word is spreading at 186,000 miles a second. Right now, the word is in multiple languages in this room. All you need is a digital device to suck it in. And by the way, will there be more in the cloud next year? Are you certain? Absolutely. Yet just 4 years ago, I was at a conference with the top CIOs in the nation, and they were debating whether they had to do something about cloud computing. Is there a debate? And I don't think there's a debate. You see, there's different kinds of change, cyclical change and permanent change, as we look towards that future. For example, I had a number of years ago, I had a chance to meet Rick Wagner, former chairman of GM, and he knew that I was a forecaster, technology researcher, a futurist kind of guy, and when we were introduced, he said, well, of course, no one can predict the future. And I said, well, let me think just for a minute here. It's fall, next will be winter. I think I'll be right. Now, by the way, what did I just give you an example of? A cycle. There's over 300 known cycles, weather cycles, biological cycles, that let you anticipate the future. Economists use cycle. Warren Buffett uses cycles. Buy low, sell high. Okay, so what do I want us to do? I want to realize there's another kind of change, not cyclical change, something I call linear change, permanent change. Once this kind of change happens, we're not going back. Once you got an iPhone, what happened? You're changed. You're not going back. Well, right now, we're at the base of a mountain. This economic problems that we've been having globally? You know what it is? It's a fog. The news is a fog. Let's face it, bad news sells, good news doesn't sell, and if there's no bad news, they'll give you the anniversary of bad news. Hey? Yeah. Well, blow away the fog. The mountain remains. The mountain of unbelievable opportunity right now for everyone. So when we are looking around at all of the woe is me challenges, remember, humans have been doing impossible things ever since we set foot on this planet. And so can you. So I'd like you to ask yourself what seems impossible. Hey, I was talking to a school district not long ago. They said, well, we got an impossible problem. Once away, I perked up. I thought, hey, tell me about this. And they said, well, our problem is that our budgets have been cut. No money, federal, state, nothing going on. And this is a huge school district. Many, 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 many schools all over the place. And so I said, well, you're near an airport. Why don't you put some ads on the roof? They did that. Brought in money. Good. We can have the band, we can have music, and we can have stuff again. We don't have to lay off so many teachers. And I said, how many computers you got in that school? On all their schools, because again, this is a big school district. Thousands and thousands of computers. Well, why don't we use processor sharing, connect them all up, turn it into a supercomputer, and at night let a drug company work at solving some drug problems and trying to find new searches and cures for cancer so that they can use all of your combined processing power. What did that bring them in? Over 6 figures a year. They didn't have money. Yeah? Really? That seemed impossible. Oh, really? Was that impossible? I guess it wasn't impossible. All right, here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to think about something you think is completely and totally impossible. And then I want you to realize that whatever the core issue is, that's not it. It's something else. Skip it so that you can find the real one. I want you to look at technology that's out there and look at what we are certain about, not what we're uncertain about. Uncertainty, it gives you no power. Look at what you were certain about, and then go out and make it happen. Thank you. Thank you. Do it.